by a cyber attack and we're defenseless, you know, the day after, people are going to wake up and say, why couldn't we defend ourselves?
Right. Critical national systems that are not government systems are the sort of things that we've thought about in terms of traditional counterterrorism measures. Things like chemical plant security, things like the security of our ports, other things that are not necessarily government functions but we recognize would be an attack on the American people. We've also been not very successful at making ourselves more resilient in those senses because we've had to go through industry in order to try to get those things protected. Right. Same thing's happening here.
Same thing's happening here. Regulation is a dirty word. Industries resist. We just had Verizon win a case in federal court, and the federal judge ruled the government cannot regulate the Internet under existing law. Well, then the government cannot defend cyberspace under existing law.
Is there a conflict between privacy concerns on the Internet and the need to protect from our critical national systems from cyber attack?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, one simple way, and it would be a terrible idea, but one simple way to defend would be to have the government filtering, watching what's going on the Internet. You know, after the Bush administration warrantless wiretapping with NSA, I don't think that's a very good idea.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the guy who says trust the government.
Yeah.
But there's a way of doing it by making the telephone companies, making the Internet service providers filter what's going on their networks.
Can you filter for security but not for content?
Yeah, you can. What you do is you look for patterns of ones and zeros that are known to be attack software. And you're not reading people's emails. But even then, I don't want the government doing it.
Yeah.
Let's have Verizon do it. Let's have AT&T do it. And let's have somebody else checking to make sure they're not abusing our privacy rights.
One last question for you. Is this going to be another one of these post-Cold War things that's sort of defined both by asymmetry and anonymity, where countries, nation-states are at a disadvantage and the real threats, the real agility, the real incentive to use attacks like this are for non-state terrorist groups and for lone wolves who are extremists?
No, I know there's a theory out there that that's the case. I think this is about nation-states. And that's, in fact, good news. Because if we get our act together, we can move from talking about cyber war to talking about cyber peace.
I'd like us to be talking about cyber defense first.
Well, that's part of cyber peace.
Yeah. Cyber War, the Next Threat to National Security and What to Do About It is the new book by Richard Clarke. It's not only important, it's compelling and written like a thriller, which is one of your particular skills, sir. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
There are two Republicans front and center in the Nevada Senate. One trying to hold on to his seat in 2012, one looking to unseat the Democratic Majority Leader, Harry Reid, this year. Both of these Republicans are making headlines today, both making headlines that make you think at first glance that maybe you're accidentally reading The Onion instead of reading real news. First, Nevada's scandal-ridden sitting Republican Senator John Ensign. According to disclosure forms analyzed by Talking Points Memo, Senator Ensign's re-election campaign raised a grand total of $50 during the first 3 months of this year. Not 50,000, not 50 as an abbreviation for something else, but 50 as in the number that comes after 49 and before 51. Senator Ensign raised $50 in 3 months. His $50 was raised in two donations of $25 apiece, both from the same man. A donor who explained to TPM that he donated to Senator Ensign despite the senator's sexual and ethical scandals because, and I quote, "All men are dogs, the way I look at it. Here's your $50. Then there's the other Republican looking to represent the great state of Nevada in the Senate. She is Sue Loudon. She's the frontrunner challenging Democratic Senator Harry Reid for his seat. Would-be Senator Sue Loudon is now becoming famous coast to coast for her unique proposals for how Americans should deal with the expense of health care.
I would have suggested, and I think that bartering is really good. Those doctors who you pay cash, you can barter. And that would get prices down in a hurry. And I would say go ahead out and pay cash for whatever your medical needs are, and go ahead and barter with your doctor.
At first it seemed like candidate Sue Loudon must have misspoken. Surely she didn't mean barter. Certainly she meant bargain or haggle, right? I mean, you can haggle with your doctors to pay less. Bartering is what you do to avoid using money altogether. Is that really what she means? Yeah, turns out she really meant barter.
Let's change the system and talk about what the possibilities are. I'm telling you that this works. You know, before we all started having health care in the olden days, our grandparents, they would bring a chicken to the doctor. They would say, I'll paint your house. They would do, I mean, that's the old days of what people would do to get health care with their doctors. Doctors are very sympathetic people. I'm not backing down from that system.
Just to be clear, she's not saying your chicken is sick, bring your chicken to the doctor. She's saying you're sick, bring the doctor a chicken. And just in case candidate Loudon's position wasn't crystal clear by this point, one of her aides elaborated the Talking Points memo today saying, quote, Americans are struggling to pay for their health care, and in order to afford coverage, we must explore all options available to drive costs down. Bartering with your doctor is not a new concept. Okay. If you pay your doctor and nurse in chickens, do we expect that they will in turn be able to go pay for electricity and equipment and their rent also with chickens? Can people donate chickens to Sue Loudon right now? Or to John Ensign? He actually might need them more. Fundraising dinner ticket? 1 cup of sugar. A meeting in the candidate's office? 1 prime heifer. An autographed picture? That'll cost you 1 bushel of wheat. Guaranteed opposition to financial reform? 6 pairs of tube socks, please. If she's elected, imagine what Sue Loudon could do for the tax code. Imagine what she could do for the budget. Good news, we don't owe China any money anymore, but everyone in the country needs to come up with their weight in butter, okay? Fast. The Supreme Court of the United States heard arguments this week in a case about sexually explicit text messages sent using employer-issued pagers. In our increasingly text-obsessed, status-updating digital society, this may be a fair time to ask if our highest court in the land has kept up with the times, cyber-savvy-wise, particularly given the transcripts of Monday's proceedings at the court. Check out this rather low-tech conversation between Chief Justice John Roberts and attorney Dieter DeMeyer. Now, there are no cameras allowed in Supreme Court proceedings, so my friend Kent Jones is here to help dramatize their actual exchange.
Maybe everybody knows this, but what is the difference between the pager and the email?
Sure. The email goes through the city's computer. It goes through the city's server. The pagers are a separate device that goes home with you, that travels with you, that you can use on duty or off duty.
You can do that with emails.
Well, certainly.
Chief Justice Roberts getting right to the heart of the matter, also getting a neck cramp. Later, Justice Kennedy also tried to log into this conversation.
What happens, just out of curiosity, if he is on the pager and sending a message and they're trying to reach him for, a SWAT team crisis? Does the one kind trump the other, or do they get a busy signal?
My understanding is that you would get it in between messages, so messages are going out and coming in at the same time, pretty much.
Would you know where the message was coming from?
I believe so. It identifies where it's coming from. It identifies the number of where it's coming from. If you know the number, you know where it's coming from.
And he's talking to the girlfriend, and he gets a voice message that says, "Your call is very important to us. Will we get back to you?"
That's one of the really cool things about text messages. No busy signals. Then Justice Scalia had a few thoughts of his own. He also has his own finger.
Do any of these other people know about the wireless? Don't they just assume that once they send something to this police sergeant, it's going to the police sergeant?
Well, they expect that some company, I'm sure, is going to have to be processing the delivery of this message and...
Hey, wait, I wouldn't think that. I thought, you push a button, it goes right to the other thing.
Well...
You mean it doesn't go right to the other thing?
Thank you, Kent. If you have a cramp, we'll take care of it later.
Sorry about Alito.
A
little slow.
These are the people making important, unappealable decisions about the interwebs. Behold the majesty of the law. I hope they never let cameras in the Supreme Court. This is so much better.
We'll do this.